I'll throw to you after I talk.
I'll turn my phone off.
Do you want to stand at the back? All right. Well, today I'm making sure that Queenslanders are aware that puppy scammers, unfortunately, are on the rise. We've seen a 400% increase in complaints to the Office for Fair Trading in the last 2 years, and the ACCC have received 1,100 just this year. We know because of COVID, more and more Queenslanders are wanting to find a new family friend, but they do have to be careful before forking out thousands of dollars for a new puppy. With COVID-19, these scammers are using online platforms to advertise a puppy, but using excuses such as restrictions, border closures and lockdowns to say that people cannot view the pup before they hand over thousands of dollars. So we know that these companies are also using fake transport delivery companies to even pretend to deliver pups to people's homes. If Queenslanders do want to adopt a new family friend, make sure that you either buy from a registered breeder or adopt a puppy that's looking for a home from one of our wonderful charities like the RSPCA, who are with us here today. The Office for Fair Trading has some tips for Queenslanders who are looking to buy or adopt a new family friend. Make sure you check that a breeder is registered. The Department of Agriculture and Fisheries keeps a register of all breeders. We cracked down on illegal puppy farms in 2016, and now all breeders must be registered and share their information with enforcement agencies. Make sure you visit your pup before you buy and hand over thousands of dollars. It's also so important that you ask for vaccination paperwork. You also ask for your breeder's paperwork, and make sure you do your research on the seller. If you have any questions, you can visit your local vet, your breeder association or your pet shop, and if you do believe you may have seen a scam, please let the Office for Fair Trading know immediately. Michael, did you want to say a few words?
Well, really the RSPCA would obviously like to echo what the Minister has said. You know, there definitely has been an increase in scams. There's obviously been more demand for particularly pedigree breeds, and we just urge everyone, obviously as the Minister said, to make certain that the breeder is registered, but also do more than that. Really do your research into the background of that breeder, because undoubtedly there have been some unscrupulous breeders out there who are just charging way over the odds for particularly the designer breed puppies. And again, you know, we just urge everyone to come to the RSPCA first. You know, please come and look at the wonderful animals that we have available for adoption. So yeah, we totally support what the Minister's saying, and yeah, please come and see us at the RSPCA. Not every dog is as small as cute as these two, but they do need homes. They're just a little bit larger.
How would you describe the current situation in shelters across Queensland?
Sorry.
How would you describe
the naughty corner.
It's better and better. Oh dear.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, that's all right.
Never work with animals and children, right?
Yeah, I spent most of my career
You're
working
used to this.
with both. Yeah.
She'll ask a question in a minute.
Sorry,
No, you're fine. I was just going to ask, how would you describe the current situation in shelters across Queensland? Are there a lot of dogs and pets in need of a home right now?
Well, we always have a lot of animals that are looking for homes, no doubt about that. And that did increase. We actually saw more adoptions happen during the COVID times. But yeah, we don't get too many of the small fluffy breeds in, but you know, we do have a lot of animals looking for homes, and these two here, one was just rehomed this morning before I got here, so that's good news. So please just go online or come down to Wakeholm and have a look and see what's available.
Michael, how bad is scamming normally? Like taking COVID out of it, how bad is scamming in normal times?
Well, it's always been going on, no doubt about that, but it's definitely, you know, there was a definite rise during COVID times. I think just purely because of the demand. The demand went up, consequently the prices went up, consequently the unscrupulous breeders could make more money. It was just a chain of events.
Can you explain, are people getting like the wrong type of dog, the wrong breed of dog, or they're just getting no dog at all when they make these type of purchases?
Yeah, you know, in some cases people have forked out money and the dog has never actually arrived. So there have been scams like that, but also a lot of breeds with quite serious health issues. So they've been bred indiscriminately, and that's why we always say, please do your research on the breeder. We're not saying don't buy from registered breeders or anything like that, but please do your research and give the RSPCA a try as well.
Michael, how do you think just on figures? You know, you're saying there's been a dramatic increase in people scamming and asking for dogs. Any examples of, you know, what type of increases we're talking about?
Do you want me to answer that?
Unless the Minister might be able to answer that.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
And just to your question, we're not only seeing that these are fake ads online where people don't get a puppy at all. Sometimes they're advertised as having been fully vaccinated and had all their medical checks and the dogs arrived and none of that has happened. And of course, sometimes people see a photo of a completely different breed of dog, and when they get the dog, it's not that breed at all. So there's a number of different scams in operation. As I said, we have seen an over 400% increase in the last 2 years. So 2 years ago, our complaints about puppy scammers were in single figures. Just in the last financial year, it's 60. And as I said, the ACCC has had 1,100. So across Australia, just this year, it's $1.5 million that people have forked over and they haven't absolutely got the puppy or not what they bought online.
What would your message be to scammers? What sort of,
Well, the Office for Fair Trading will absolutely crack down on any scammers, which is why it's so important that Queenslanders, if they see a scam or they think there's a scam, to report it to us so that we can investigate it and work with our agencies to make sure that these scams are shut down.
do you have, I was just going to say, do you have sort of like a list of, you know, a checklist that people should go through when they're...
Absolutely. So as I said, really the most important thing is to go and see the puppy before you hand over your money. Do your research, so make sure they're registered. But as Michael has said, do your research on the sellers. I know so many families spend so much time working out what sort of dog they might like for the family and doing research on different breeds. It's so important that you spend the same amount of time researching where you buy the dog from and to talk to your local vet and breeders association to get the information that you need.
Minister, just on the borders, what are the legalities surrounding shifting the border further south?
Well, of course, we are very pleased that finally, after so many months, New South Wales has now said they're open to talking with us on moving checkpoints further south. As someone that grew up on the Gold Coast, that border community really is one community, and trying to make things easier for people to take their kids to school, to get medical appointments, absolutely makes sense. These are very early days, so we will absolutely make sure that we put in place all of the arrangements we need to. We will look at all of those legal issues, but I guess at this stage we're just really pleased that New South Wales have finally realised how tough it is for that border community.
For police officers, like, do they need to be sworn in if they operate in New South Wales as New South Wales police officers, that type of activity?
Well, as you can imagine, there is a lot of activity that police already do across borders, particularly on the southern Gold Coast and northern New South Wales. So we can work through all of those issues. I'm so confident that we can find solutions to any of those challenges. But the main point is we really do need to make things easier for that community. As I said, having grown up there, having family and friends there, I know how tough it is. And I'm really pleased that New South Wales have finally realised this.
What's the breakthrough? Why are New South Wales now talking with
Well, I think the community has been very successful in advocating for a change, and I think it's really important that those businesses and residents continue to advocate to both governments about how difficult it is, and I'm just really pleased that New South Wales are finally in discussions.
So you support then people protesting on the border, like they're saying?
I absolutely do not. I do not support those protests, but I support communities advocating to their leaders about how the checkpoints, where they are currently on the borders, makes their everyday life really difficult.
And, sorry, I don't know, are you on borders? In terms of, we've seen some changes to sex work legislation overnight. Can you talk to us more about that?
Yeah, so it's really important that workers in Queensland, no matter what industry you're in, don't have to choose between working safely and working legally. And that's what sex workers have told us, that the current laws criminalise their safety strategies. We know that the majority of sex work that happens here in Queensland happens illegally, it happens in the shadows. We absolutely need to bring this out of the shadows, out of the dark, and have a proper regulatory framework that keeps workers safe and keeps the community safe. That's why the government has referred this issue to the Queensland Law Reform Commission to look at decriminalising this industry and putting in place safeguards and a regulatory framework for the industry. So the QLRC will obviously consult with government agencies and the community and stakeholders, and this is something that most other jurisdictions have now done. This brings Queensland into line with most of the rest of the states, most recently the Northern Territory and New South Wales, and just last week Victoria announced a review as well. So it's important that Queensland has modern and appropriate laws for this work.
There's just one thing on that border. If it does get moved, does that then become Queensland's responsibility to where it's moved to, or does that become a blurred space about who's in control of that new space?
Well, look, that's all of the things we will work out, but really we're talking about moving a checkpoint so that, as you know, the checkpoint right now is right in the middle of one community, despite the border, between Coolangatta and Tweed, being right there. We need to make sure that that community can continue, as I said, to take kids to school, get their medical appointments. It's just logistically in a very difficult place. So we're talking about moving checkpoints further south to the river, but all of those issues will be explored, and I'm pleased that New South Wales are at the table.
I understand it's pretty new, but does the government have a position on the new Doherty Institute modelling?
So that has just been to National Cabinet, and I'm sure the Premier in Queensland will take our time to consider that information.
Just wondering, do these two pups here today have a unique story that highlights the importance of adoption?
Nothing sort of mega.
Just that they're pretty cute.
Actually, Michael, if you wouldn't mind, can we ask you just one more question? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Be careful.
Oh, there's a couple.
But you've avoided it.
Oh, so close.